You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
This one just so happens, if my math is correct, and my math may not be correct, but at least if my calendar does serve itself correctly, I am recording this on the leap year, right? So it's February 29th, and this will only happen once every 4 years, I believe. Is that how a leap year works? So we actually get an extra podcast this year. So instead of 365 podcasts, we're doing 366 for our February 29th edition. Today is episode 1485. You're going to be able to read along with all of our community's questions. If you head on over to stephencabral.com/1485, you'll be able to read those there. And I always like to give a shout out to everyone that was born on February 29th. Everyone who's born on that one special day every 4 years where they don't even have an actual birth date for the next 3 years after that. So always a little humor involved in that. They are aging backwards, or aging, I guess, a lot slower than the rest of us. All right, so enough bad humor. Let's get right into our questions for the week. And let's see where they're coming in. So they're actually coming in today. We are now starting fresh with 2020. So I know that today is February 29th, and it looks like now we're falling about 10, 11 weeks behind. And that simply means that more people have been writing in because we answer all of these in the queue that they come in. So basically, first come, first serve. Always do know that you're able to ask any question every day at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our free Facebook group. Please do feel free to join. We love that you ask questions, but we also love that you give your opinion and that you support others inside the group. Remember, so much better to support and give so that when it's time for you to ask, there'll be people there for you as well, right? That's how the world works. Hopefully, at least that's how I like to believe it works, is give, 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 give. And if you ever need anything, hopefully people will be there right there to support you as well. Okay. Today, again, as I said, is episode 1485, and the first question coming in from January 2nd is from James. James says, "Hi, I'm currently dealing with stomach pains, loose stool, and unable to lose weight. Not overweight, but trying to drop a couple pounds. I've taken a stool test through Genova and got the data showing a bunch of different imbalances and potential issues. Is there any way you can analyze the data and give directions? Currently frustrated with my progress and not feeling good." Okay, thank you, James. Perfect. Appreciate you writing in. Again, as we say, over half of our practice is digestive-based issues. We've been doing this for many years, and for sure, we can help you with this. I've done so many previous shows on digestion. And the reason why I mention that is I would love for you to go back to, let's just go, stephencabral.com/podcast. Yes, that's it. And then scroll to the right in the banner. A lot of people don't know this yet. It just started for 2020. And there's a podcast collection called Fix Your Digestion Forever. And when you click on that, it's going to give you a lot of shows that all has to do with digestion, right? So there's probably in there about, I don't know, let's say about 40 different shows. All the way back, there's one from episode 178, Bad Breath Causes and Cures. So definitely, again, there's all sorts of different shows. We've done 1485, right? So this will be able to allow you to go back and check out those individual shows. All right, so that's going to help. But getting back to your question, yes, if you become a current client in the private wellness practice, we do an intake, we read your labs, we can send out for new labs for you, and then we give you a personalized wellness plan. So absolutely. To do that, easy. Just email support@equilibriumnutrition.com and say, I'd like to apply to become a private wellness client. That's it. Easy. So that's the answer to your question. And then, of course, if you're saying, okay, I just kind of want to get started with the protocol that we again, I would look at doing more than that, but the CBO protocol, with the citracetyl drops is most likely at least a segue, an interlude, but there'd be a lot more that we would look at with you as well, James. So hopefully that helps. All right, Michelle's up next. I have a question that I can't seem to find any information on. I have a permanent retainer that has a broken bracket. I have 3 choices. Remove, that's option 1. Option 2, have another permanent put in place. Or option 3, Invisalign retainer that I would wear at night. I would like to keep my teeth in place therefore considering option 2 and 3. What direction do you have to give patients on this? All right. Well, let's go to, again, StephenCabral.com/podcast. The reason why I keep mentioning this is that I want to be able to help as many people as possible. That's the goal, right? So if I am 12 weeks behind in questions, I just want to try to get in a lot of new questions as well. So what I want you to do is head on over to episode 1093, and you can check out what I talked about as a potential issue with people wearing Invisalign for overnight. Okay, so check that out, Michelle, at StephenCabral.com/1093. It has your full answer right there. All right, Jenny's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thank you so much for all you do for your clients and the community. I started following your podcast last April, read your book, and did my first detox in June. Fast forward to today. I've never missed a podcast. I'm down 30 plus pounds, and my cholesterol is lowered by 85 points. I feel terrific. I have tons of energy, and my life has changed so much for the better, all thanks to you. I will forever be one of your biggest cheerleaders and continue to brag about you. I use the DNS powder in my daily smoothie and follow some of your favorite recipes, and you have rarely gone a day without one in more than 6 months. I've been adding a scoop of the advanced collagen support for the past couple months. The other day, I came across an ad for Beverly Hills MD. I know you don't discount or discredit other companies' products, but do you know anything about this one or the ingredients? Helps to smooth, tighten, and firm skin from the inside out. In addition to containing collagen, it contains saw palmetto and hyaluronic acid. Do you know what those are and what they do? I'm hesitant to try products from the internet at this point. I mainly only trust you and the Equilibrium Nutrition products. I'm just a little curious about these. Thank you, Jenny. Okay. So I don't know this specific product, and you're right, I won't disparage any other company. I can tell you that saw palmetto is not typically used to firm, tighten skin, things like that. What it does do is it's a really good DHT, dihydrotestosterone blocker, and it can be used for women with potentially higher levels of testosterone or PCOS-based issues with hair loss. So that can help with that. Men oftentimes use saw palmetto for prostate and for DHT hair loss as well, especially towards the back of the scalp. Hyaluronic acid is actually a powerful ingredient for the skin that can be gotten from from food, as well as nutritional supplementation. So I don't know this company specifically. I don't know if they have any additives in there, such as, I don't know, some companies put in crazy things like food dyes and all sorts of different things like that in their products. But if it's a clean product, you're welcome to test it out. I just don't know this particular product, so I apologize that I can't give you more. My highest recommendation for skin is using the alkalizing vitamin C or the full spectrum vitamin C, the balanced zinc, the advanced collagen support, and that would be on top of the daily foundational protocol level 2 or 3. And the reason is that nothing's going to replace the daily nutritional support, the daily fruit and vegetable blend, which is your 22 organic fruit, vegetable, and superfoods, your omega-3, which is absolutely needed for good hair, good skin, nails, and then, of course, the daily probiotic support. So I always look at things as foundation, right? Daily foundation protocol level 2, most important, then the advanced collagen support, then, let's say, extra vitamin C, then the balanced zinc, and then maybe a product like the one you're talking about. Hopefully this has been helpful. Jenny, thanks for writing in. All right, Les is up next. Hello, Dr. Cabral. I had a question regarding type 1 diabetes. My boyfriend has type 1 diabetes, and every time his blood sugar is low, that's supposed to say blood. All right. Every time his blood sugar is low, he will reach for cookies or candy. I know that there must be a healthier option to help him. I've searched online and found that many recommend soda, which is definitely not something I consider healthy. Hoping you can help with suggesting healthier options. Thank you so much. Huge fan and truly appreciate what you do. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this is the thing. And I get it. Like, Les, I totally know what you're saying. The problem is this. People think when their blood sugar drops, all of a sudden, and type 1 diabetes is serious. And it's exacerbated by inflammation. So yeah, people reach for soda, cookies, and candy. They're like, oh no, I need to have this for when my blood sugar drops. You don't. You don't need to have it when your blood sugar drops. You could have some dried fruit that you can keep on you. You can have some regular fruits. You can have something that's a lot healthier for you than putting in cookies, candy, and soda, which is only going to exacerbate it. The other thing is, you want to really get to learn your body. For people that I work with type 1 diabetes, we're always working on basically a very similar meal plan and meal timing every single day. The reason we do that is we then know how much insulin the body needs. And so then there isn't this wild high and low. Really, really important that we start to get to know our bodies, especially those people with type 1 diabetes, because you don't want your blood sugar all over the place. It's what will age you faster. It will lead to neuropathy. It's going to lead to cardiovascular issues. It's going to lead to ocular, or I should say vision-based issues. So yeah, my recommendation is there's always healthier choices. And typically, it's so much less food than you think that you need in order to raise your blood sugar for a type 1 diabetic. Meaning like they don't need cookies or candy. Like if you needed to bring it up and you had a candy, sure, be a candy, not a handful of candies, right? Because then the blood sugar spikes way up and then you need to use more insulin. So really, I think there are absolutely healthier ways, but all we can do is do our best. That's it. So maybe small changes at a time, keeping healthier things with us, and that'll be much better for choices. Okay. Jamie's up next. What is the truth about asparagus and it being a catalyst for transporting cancerous cells or free radicals around the body? I presume if someone has been diagnosed with cancer, they should not eat asparagus if this is true. What is your understanding? Clarification? Much appreciated. Thank you so much for all you do. I've almost finished listening to the entire back catalog of podcasts, about 100 to go. Really appreciate your work, and thank you again for helping change my life and my approach to health. I'm in turn paying forward the limited knowledge I have too. Thank you. Jamie, thank you so much for paying it forward. Thank you for those kind words as well. I really do appreciate that, honestly. That's what it's all about. I learned the information, and I learned it from my studies. I learned it from all the books that I read, which were far more than I read in school. I read 10 times the amount out of school, and the internships and all the great people that I've learned from. And I pass that then on to you. So I appreciate you then passing it on to others as well. Okay, Jamie, let's answer your question. So there was a study. I believe it was over in Europe. Please don't quote me on that, but I believe it was either Europe or Canada. It was outside of the United States, and it was done on mice. I don't know the actual amount of... It's actually, so it's a protein inside of asparagus. So it's not necessarily asparagus itself, but what they did was they gave asparagine, which is the protein in asparagus, or a protein in asparagus, not the only one, to mice. So they gave an extract of asparagus called asparagine to mice, and it did show that it could metastasize or allow for a proliferation of breast cancer-based cells, or the breast cancer tumor. Now, it didn't seem to affect mice without breast cancer already, but what they did find was that asparagine, not necessarily asparagus, but asparagine actually did metastasize that. So if someone has breast cancer, then I don't necessarily think I would be promoting eating asparagus, but I'm also not quite sure of the validity of this study, because what we're doing is taking a higher dose for a mouse, then extrapolating that limited data and saying that it's possible for humans. Now, again, I err on the side of caution. I really do. I err on the side of caution. So I'd say, sure, we can eliminate that vegetable for women or men that may have some type of breast tissue-based tumor. So thank you, Jamie, for writing in, and you are correct. Okay, Jamie's up next. Thank you for all you do and all the hard work you and your team put in. Apologize, as I know this question has come up in different guises before, but I couldn't help from really finding an all-encompassing answer. We have a 6-month-old daughter, and she has a skin allergy, or had a skin allergy test that came up negative for everything. Good news. Having listened to the podcast for some time, I hear you on the dairy, and having cut out all dairy from my diet, I feel a million times better. When I do now eat dairy, I feel I have a reaction, but I can live with it, and occasionally for a cheat meal, it's worth the trade-off. My question is, should we really be stopping our daughter from having any dairy, even so young, because surely it must have some benefits. Otherwise, why have humans used it for so long? If we switch her to all non-dairy products so young, is she likely to have worse reactions when she's older? Also, so many people say the calcium content is not as high in the dairy alternatives, and the side of the packs, crude level, I compare dairy milk to nut milks, and this seems to corroborate this observation. Can you shed light on what does provide enough calcium for children from birth up to adulthood, and how you have treated dairy or dairy alternatives for your children from birth until now? Thank you so much. Okay, it's a good question. It's a fair question to ask, but here's the thing. People have been eating it just like they've been eating a lot of things because they have access to it. And that allows them then to get a pretty inexpensive, previously, source of calories and food. And since it's quite an anabolic food, it does help the body to grow. So here's the issue that we run into, though. Because if you're not having raw milk, you're not consuming it like they did hundreds of years ago. I mean, think about it. When did refrigeration start? About 100 years ago? Really not too much longer than that. That's about it. So we're having raw milk, which also contains all the enzymes, and we're having it from cows, again, 100 years ago, that were fed their natural feed. So they're eating grass, right? They're eating grass, they were green pastured. Okay, so there's that. The second part is this, but that's huge, right? Because now we drink milk that's been pasteurized, that's been heated, and that's probably good because it's getting from sick cows. You would not want to drink raw milk from a sick cow. They're getting antibiotics. They're getting recombinant bovine growth hormone. It's increasing estrogen in young girls and men. It's not good, right? It's not a good food. It's also the number one IgG food sensitivity. Keep in mind the skin allergy test you did for your daughter is not an IgG sensitivity test, okay? So the only way you'd really know is to run an at-home IgG food sensitivity test. And again, you can find those at equilibriumnutrition.com or your local integrative health practitioner or functional medicine doctor. Okay, so let's go on though. Is there more calcium in cow's milk than nut milk? My answer would be, I would say no. And the reason is this, that a lot of times milk being so acidic as well will oftentimes leach more calcium from the bones than it actually gives. And you can look at that research yourself. I mean, that's easy. So you could literally type into Google, cow's milk dairy leaches calcium from bones. All right, so you can check that out. Now, the other thing is this. Now, let's throw cow's milk out the window. What's a much healthier alternative that really people over in Europe and the Middle East and from other cultures have been having for much longer and knowing it's much more digestible and less of a food-based sensitivity? That would be goat and sheep. So if you're going to have cow's milk dairy, I recommend it maybe as a yogurt or lassi, which is an Ayurvedic, Indian-based, digestive-based drink, or a kefir. Kefir, yogurt, probably two of the better, no sugar added. You can add your own berries if you wanted to, but again, fruit and dairy don't mix that well. So you could look at that, right? So sheep's milk, goat's milk, make sure it's pastured. Typically it is. Sheep's and goat aren't typically fed all the junk that cows are. And what's the last part to this? Well, there's also the environmental impact, if you want to look at that as well. I don't want to get too much into the social part to it right now. I'm just talking about overall health, and I'll let you decide about the impact on that. But then again, most nut milks have about 30% more calcium than cow's-based milk. We still don't even feed our daughters we don't give our daughters nut milk. There might be a little bit in the smoothie, but what they're getting are all the high calcium-based foods. Okay, and in terms of high calcium foods that are non-dairy based, I did a podcast on this, and I believe it was episode 1057. So if you want to head over to stephencabral.com/1057, we talk about bone health and all the different things that you can also use as alternatives, such as dark leafy greens. Well, I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can check out over there. And then, of course, there's nutritional supplements. So whatever you feel is best for your family and your kids, you can absolutely do. But again, much, much healthier alternatives than cow's milk. The last part is, there are actually some studies saying, well, if you don't eat it now, you might not have the enzymes to digest it later in life. But the truth is this, is that the majority of adults don't have the enzyme lactase anymore to digest lactose, and that just happens as you're an adult. And the reason is that children were the ones meant to get dairy. They were, of course, meant to get it from their mother, not necessarily from an animal. And also, after the age of about 4 or 5 years old maximum, they would have weaned off breastfeeding. Most children today wean by 2 years old, and that way they wouldn't have naturally had any more dairy. Therefore, as adults, we begin to lack the enzyme lactase for, I believe it's Asian cultures, it's 90% African Americans, or Africans, 75%. That it's either vice versa. It might be 90% Africans, 75% Asian cultures, but I actually believe it's the reverse. And then the majority of all adults also lack it. Now, some of the people in more of the Northern European countries actually are able to tolerate it a bit more because it was so prevalent in the culture. At least, I hope this helps. But again, everybody can figure out how well they tolerate it. The truth is, just have dairy for a week straight or so, cow's milk, goat's milk, all that jazz, and then take an IgG food sensitivity test right at home. You'll see your reaction to it. Okay. Next up, I think we've got a lot of questions from Jamie. So I'm going to try to answer these quickly just so that we get other people. Actually, that looks like it. That is our time for the show. All right. So I'm going to answer a couple more Jamie questions tomorrow, and then we'll get to all of the people who wrote in on the show. Thank you so much, everyone who tuned in today. I appreciate you. I hope you're enjoying your weekend if you're listening to this on the weekend. And actually, was this it? Was this our... No, we've got one more show. We've got one more show coming up tomorrow, right? Yes, absolutely. So today was episode 1485. Tomorrow's 1486. I do hope that you tune in, and really looking forward to being able to answer more of our community's questions tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to StephenCabral.com/rainbarrel.